From WIS Columbia, the station you count on for local news, this is WIS News 10's Awareness.
Good morning, and thanks for making awareness a part of your day. I'm Brandy Cummings. This morning on Awareness, we're talking politics and what they mean to your family and your business. The first day of the 118th legislative session begins Tuesday, and there are a lot of items on the agenda. Some of the biggest issues this year: taxes, energy, employment, and health care. This morning, we've convened two different panels to discuss the issues. We begin with the legislative agenda important to the business community. Steve Benjamin and Mia Butler are on the board of directors for the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. This year, the South Carolina Chamber will be working to make sure businesses and their employees are taken care of. We begin with health care. Now, there are more than 700,000 uninsured folks in the Palmetto State. Steve, tell me what businesses need to make sure their employees are taken care of.
Well, health insurance costs make up the second largest expenditure of businesses behind payroll, and a lot of businesses need some relief. They need some help. Of course, one solution that we've bandied about in the state for the last several years is trying to find some way to increase the cigarette tax. South Carolina's 7-cent tax is the lowest in the nation, and we'd hope the legislature would try and do something about that. Our state forfeits $500 million. It's forfeit $500 million in available Medicaid funds that are available to us by not acting. Yeah.
Now, Mia, as Steve mentioned, of course, when you talk about health care, the cigarette tax always comes up. What the Chamber cigarette tax plan could help small businesses afford insurance. Tell me how that works.
Well, the way that will work, Brandy, is by increasing the cigarette tax to at least 57 cents a pack. We would then qualify for the Medicaid funds to come back to the state. And those matching funds could help us with prevention programs and other programs that could help keep our citizens healthy. And they'd also help, a portion of that money would go to small business tax credits so that small businesses could then, provide affordable, meaningful health insurance coverage for their employees.
And in essence, what needs to be done to make that happen?
We got to get it passed. We came up short, not in the House and Senate. It did pass the House and Senate, but we did, that legislation was vetoed by the governor, and we weren't able to override it in the House. So we've just got to get it passed so that we can, begin to really make a difference. Not having affordable health care has an impact on every legislative priority in this state. And there's so many, as you said, more than 700,000 people across South Carolina don't have affordable or don't have health insurance, period. So their primary health care has become emergency room care, and that just shouldn't be. So we have to make every effort to change that, and the cigarette tax increase would be a great start.
Let's move on now to talking about energy. Our state's utility energy supplies and reserve are becoming dangerously low. If it keeps up, electric companies will be forced to increase their rates. Steve, what should be done so our energy bills don't go up?
Well, we have to have a comprehensive, and you'll hear that word comprehensive used in a number of different ways today and throughout the session, but some type of energy policy and make sure we have adequate energy reserves available in an affordable manner that's environmentally friendly, which of course means we have to make sure we consider nuclear power as well, greenhouse gas-free nuclear power. Yeah.
And now what has to be done, of course, this is something that is talked about globally, nationally. What has to be done specifically on this level to make sure that it affects the South Carolina as a whole? Sure.
Well, I think first of all, recognizing the fact that I don't want to spend too much time on nuclear, but understand nuclear is a strength in South Carolina. South Carolina produces more nuclear energy than any other state in the Southeast. We have a ready and willing trained workforce here and we have to recognize that not only are we creating more energy, but this is another very economically viable way to create more jobs here in South Carolina. We of course need to focus on coal and clean coal and making sure we have enough reserves there to fill the gap. But long-term policy, we need to make sure we focus more on more clean energy, and that includes nuclear.
Of course, one big thing on the minds of many South Carolinians right now is our jobs. Unemployment number in South Carolina is at a 25-year high. Mia, what kind of workforce development issues will be pushed this year?
Well, across our state, we've got jobs without people and people without jobs. So the Chamber is committed to supporting adult education programs and other programs that will help prepare, retool, and re-educate our workforce so that those jobs are able to be filled and we won't have high unemployment rates like we have now. We've got to use the resources and tools that we have to educate and to re-educate the workforce so that they have the knowledge and the skill sets that they need to compete. And that's the only way that South Carolina is going to compete globally as well. Our technical colleges are key to that effort. So the Chamber is supportive and very committed to that.
What are your suggestions for folks that may have worked at, let's say, a factory type job for many, many years, not very well educated, maybe with a high school degree or a high school diploma, but not having a degree? What do you suggest they do to look for work and to be able to compete in an economy like this?
Well, I think that's where the adult education programs would be key, in just revitalizing that whole effort so that we are able to educate, re-educate, retool, and basically give those individuals the skill sets that they need to be able to fill some of those positions. Having jobs without people, it shouldn't be, especially today with the budget crisis that we're in. We just have to do something different if we want a different result. And I think to focus on those adult education programs, that will be vital to helping those people qualify for those positions that are available.
All right, one of the things people hate to talk about has to be taxes. Property taxes and the consequences of Act 388 going to affect get a lot of attention this year and affect a lot of folks. See, first of all, tell us what that issue is.
Taxes. Well, we once in this state and other places, you had the three-legged stool of tax policy. You could rely on consumption taxes, property taxes, and income taxes. And there have been a number of changes to tax policy over the years that doesn't allow us to rely on those that three-legged stool anymore. Act 388 gave relief from school operating taxes in exchange for a 1% sales tax. And the state hasn't recognized the anticipated revenue from that. I want to say last year we're looking at $582 million generated from those sales taxes, while school needs are $700 million. So we got to go back and take a look at how we can have a real comprehensive look at tax reform in the state. Just a few quick statistics. And South Carolina has the highest property tax rate in the nation for industrial property, 7th highest in the nation for commercial property. We have to take a look at how we maintain some type of an equitable look at just keeping our eyes on tax policy and making sure we can take care of the needs of the state while not unduly burdening individual taxpayers, but also not harming business.
Now, of course, if businesses are left to pick up the tab on taxes, that means, of course, they won't be able to they'll have to pay their employees, of course, less money. Mia, what do you think the solution would be?
Well, I'm not sure if there is one solution. As Steve said, it has to be comprehensive tax reform. And that's what the state chamber is looking at. There has to be, as with the 2006 legislation, most people really didn't see any relief from that. But there was an undue burden placed on businesses. So the cost to the state is that companies that are looking to locate and relocate here will think twice about that. And we're going to miss many opportunities to turn things around in our state if we don't take a long, hard look at that and not piecemeal it as we've done in years past. So I think comprehensive tax reform would have to be key to that overall effort, and not just not looking at any one particular issue in a vacuum, but looking at the entire tax system and revamping it.
Mia, Steve, thank you so much for being with us this morning. All right, still to come on Awareness, a look at the bigger picture. You'll hear from 2 local lawmakers about what's on their agenda for this legislative session. Stay with us. We're back in 2 minutes.